A lot of times when you go into a store, you'll see something that's on sale or discounted. And so basically, instead of telling you what the actual price is that you need to pay, they just tell you the percent that's off, and they hope that that's good enough for you to make the decision to buy that. Usually it's a good idea to know exactly what it's going to cost before you decide to buy it or not buy it. So let's go through and find some selling prices on items that are going to be discounted. So let's just say that we go to an MP3 player, not an expensive one, about $50 originally, and the store's saying, hey, today it's 30% off. Um, the steps that you would take to go and determine the amount of discount would be to ask yourself, well, what's 30% of the sales price? So if you can ask yourself what is 30% of $49.50 and get the answer, you'd be fine. And in our previous lesson about discovering how to figure out sales tax, we pretty much did the exact same question. We took the 30% and we made it into a decimal, and then we just multiplied it by $49.50. And you pull out your calculator and you discover that it shows up as 14.85 on your calculator, just two decimal places, which that means is to the nearest cent. So basically, you're being discounted $14.85 off of the $49.50. So your very last step is it's not a tax. We're actually having a discount. So we would take this 30%, otherwise the $14.85, and subtract it off of the original price, and that's how much you'd have to pay for the MP3 player. After you do the subtraction, it's $34.65, and that's the selling price. So let's go through and do about, maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 more of these. Here's the thing that we're looking at. We're going to buy a tie for about $30, and that's about normal for stores nowadays. So ask yourself, what is 20% of $29.99? And this is where we get into a rounding situation. After you basically flip this over to a decimal and then times it by $29.99, on your calculator screen it shows up as 5.998. Well, if we're saying round it to the nearest cent, we only need the first two decimal places, right? So you look at that third decimal place and you use it to round this one. But don't think of it as 99, because then that could confuse you. Think of it as $5.99. Does this tell us to round up one, or does it tell us to just keep it exactly the same? Because it's a higher than a 5, a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 in this spot right here, that tells us we're going to increase this by 1 penny. So if this was $5.99 and then we increase it by 1 penny, that basically means the discount is $6 exactly. Okay, so we round to the nearest penny. Then we're just left with, okay, here was our original price. Let me fix that real quick. This was our original price of $29.99. It's a discount, so that means we're going to take it away. So we're going to subtract $6. That's our discount. And so that leaves us with $23.99 is this final selling price. Okay, let's move on to our next example. So you're looking at a nice jacket that's originally $335 off, and for some reason they couldn't sell it. Maybe it's too small of a size or too large of a size, and they decided to give you a 50% discount. So how do we go about figuring this out? Ask yourself, what is 50% of $335? Flip the percent into a decimal, and then multiply it by the original price. On your calculator screen, it'll show that it's 167.5. But remember, we're talking about money because this is $335. So don't forget to put your dollar sign on there. And when we're talking about money, if there's any type of pennies or cents involved, go ahead and make sure you take it out to two decimal places, because that way we'll know it's 50 pennies, not just 5 pennies. And plus, that's the proper way we write money out. So we now know what the discount is. So take the original price and subtract that discount amount. Final selling price, $167.50 for the jacket. Original price from the oil change is about $25. Let's say for some reason you get a weird percent discount of 42%. So ask yourself, what's 42% of $25? Go ahead and change the percent to a decimal and multiply that 0.42 by 25. That's the original price that we're multiplying it by, and the result is what 42% of $25 is, which is 10.5. So 10.5 is literally 42% of $25. Since we're talking about money, don't forget the dollar sign. And don't forget to always go to two decimal places if there's any cents involved. So really the discount amount is $10.50. So take your original price, $25, and subtract the discount, $10.50. Final selling price is $14.50. Again, on your calculator, it's going to show up as 14.5. Don't forget your dollar sign. And since it's not a zero here for that 5, go ahead and put on another place value, in this case a 0, to make it $14.50. Don't forget that. Okay, so let's take a look at a microscope that costs almost $100. What is 20% of $99.50? Remember, convert your percentage to a decimal, multiply it by the original price, and we get $19.90. So we're going to take the original price of $99.50 and subtract it off with the discount amounts from it, which was $19.90. Final selling price is $79.60 for the microscope. If we're looking at a bicycle that was almost $500 and we have a 49% discount, to figure that out, just ask yourself, what is 49% of $499.95? So we take the percent, switch it to a decimal, and then times that decimal by the original price of $499.95. What results on your calculator screen requires you to round, so this is what you get. Focus on what happens after the decimal. So, since we're talking about it being money, I don't need to have these extra decimal places. So take a look at if there is another decimal place after that second spot, the 100th spot right here. After the 7, look at this 5 right there. And if the number sitting in this spot is a 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, we'd keep it right at 97 cents. But if it's a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 in this spot, we're simply going to add one more penny on top of whatever's there. And in this case, since it was 97 cents, it's going to become 98 cents. So that's our rounded discount to the nearest penny. Go ahead and take the original price and subtract your discount amount. Remember, this just represents the 49% discount that you're getting, and we figured out what 49% of the original price was by doing this multiplication problem, because this is 49% of the original price. So we subtract it, and we're done. Final selling price is $254.97 for the bicycle.